It's week 3 in the BCFL, and while we spent most of our time in the Western Conference so far, this week we get a look at some of the teams in the Eastern Conference, starting with the Dayton Seminoles, who are hosting the Cincinnati Dukes. A fumble derailed the Dayton offense early, but the Seminoles had better luck later in the quarter with this 35-yard touchdown pass that gave them a 6-0 lead after one quarter. The Dukes answered in the second quarter when Kamani Murray found Darion Brown for 25 yards and a touchdown. But later in the quarter, Murray went deep and he was picked off by the Dayton defense. On the very next play, this looked like the Seminoles were going to try a halfback pass. That got snuffed out, but instead they started weaving through the Dukes defense. First to the left, then cutting their way back to the right. And by the end of this 70-yard run, the Seminoles were up 12-6, a lead they would keep at halftime. In the second half, the Dukes pulled off the halfback pass with Mike Crawford hitting Kovion Spikes for 31 yards. But the Seminoles continued to frustrate the Dukes with plays like this quarterback scramble that picked up 19 yards for Dayton. The Dukes finally found the end zone again on a 31-yard pass to Spikes, and a 2-point conversion gave them a 14-12 lead. When they stopped the Seminoles on the next series, Dayton couldn't get the punt off. And on the next play, Mike Crawford scored from 5 yards out, putting the Dukes ahead 22-12. Crawford finished with 12 carries for 88 yards and that touchdown, as Cincinnati held on to the 22-12 win. In Northern Kentucky, the Wolfpack, coming off a loss to the Dukes, were hosting the other team at the top of the East, the Columbus Gladiators. It was a defensive struggle, and in fact, it was the defense that finally got the scoring started when Devontae Solomon picked off a pass and he took it all the way back for the Wolfpack, giving them an 8-0 lead at halftime. Both defenses continued to make it tough for either offense to get anything going. But finally, Nico Simpson was able to break a 32-yard run for the Gladiators, getting them into Wolfpack territory. And D'Angelo Kendricks was finally able to break through for the Gladiators in the fourth quarter, first with a short touchdown, then with the 2-point conversion that tied things up at 8. Late in regulation, Solomon picked off another pass. He nearly brought this one back for what would have put the Wolfpack ahead, but the Gladiators were able to track him down this time. And it was late in overtime when Columbus completed a pass to pull off the hard-fought 14-8 win. Checking out all the Week 3 scores, including the wins by the Dukes and the Gladiators, the Tornadoes also had a defensive struggle, knocking off the Cavalry 8-0, while the Bison Red jumped out to an early lead and shutting out the Bobcats 20-0, while the Spartans and Bengals were unable to get their game started. What that means for the standings is this: the Tornadoes remain the only undefeated team in the Western Conference, while the Bison Red improved to 2-1, the Cavalry dropped to 1-1, and the Bobcats are 1-2. The Spartans and Bengals both remain 0-2. In the Eastern Conference, there are 2 undefeated teams, the Dukes and Gladiators both at 3-0. Both have defeated the Wolfpack, who are 1-2, while the Seminoles and Braden Knights are both 0-2. Looking ahead to the Week 4 schedule, the Tornadoes and Gladiators will face off in a battle of undefeated teams, one from each conference. The Seminoles will go on the road to face the Cavalry. The Bengals will travel to face the Bison Red. The Dukes at 3-0 will face the 0-2 Spartans. The Bobcats will get a win against the Braden Knights, and the Wolfpack will be off. And finally, looking at the owners poll, there were quite a few teams that swapped spots this week. The Gladiators remained number 1, but the Tornadoes moved up to 2, while the Dukes dropped to 3. The Bison Red moved up to 4, while the Cavalry dropped to 5. The Wolfpack moved up a spot to 6, while the Bobcats dropped a spot to 7. The Seminoles traded spots with the Spartans, with the Seminoles now 8 and the Spartans 9. The Bengals and the Braden Knights remained 10 and 11.